What's up, Charger fans? Welcome back to another video. We are just 4 days away from the NFL draft, and today I'm going to share with you my final wide receiver rankings. So if that sounds nice to you, let's go. All right, I want to give a quick shout out to Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. I think the kid's a baller and he's going to make some plays for somebody in the NFL, but he just missed the rankings by a hair. With that said, at number 18, I got Konate Mumfield out of Pitt. At number 17, I got Andrew Armstrong out of Arkansas. At number 16, I have his teammate, Isaac Tesla. At number 15, I got Pat Bryant out of Illinois. At number 14, I got Jalen Royals, Utah State. People are going to be pissed about that one. Number 13, I got Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. I bet some of you are wondering why I have Konate Mumfield at a Pitt in my rankings, but I think every year there's a day 3 player that just stands out and makes a difference in the NFL, and that's my guy, and that's the guy I'm drawing a line in the sand. I think if you just looked at him as a silhouette, you could almost see glimpses of Keenan Allen and maybe Jerry Jeudy if you kind of mix them together. I'm not saying he's going to be those players. I'm just saying when you look at it as a silhouette, the body control, that's what I see with Konate. And when I watch the film, there are aspects to his route running that I think are far superior to a lot of other players, even players that are higher than him on this list. I think that he's able to get in and out of his breaks at an exceptional level. And by no means do I think his game is perfect. It's very inconsistent and I think he has a lot to learn, but this is a player that I'm going to bet on. So Andrew Armstrong, I want to give a shout out to my buddy P. Dill because he sent me the measurables and the testings at the combine, and he said, who do you think this player is that basically have identical testing and combine measurables? And he said that he's from Oklahoma, and I said, well, I guess it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. By no means does this kid play anywhere close to that level. I think that CeeDee has exceptional elusiveness and ball skills that are far greater than what Andrew Armstrong has. But back to Andrew Armstrong. Just thought that was very interesting. A guy with great hands, runs solid routes, has decent speed, and he just really fits the role as a big possession receiver that's going to play the X position quite well for somebody. He doesn't blow you out of the water with his speed or with his catch radius, but he makes plays and he gets the job done, a very meat and potatoes type wide receiver. When it comes to Isaac Tesla, I think he can pretty much do everything that Andrew Armstrong does. I have seen people that like Armstrong a little better than Tesla, and I totally get that. I think it's a coin flip between the two. I think you can scheme Isaac Tesla to do a lot of nice things, and I think he will make a solid power slot wide receiver. Trevor Sikkema is very high on him, and his opinion's great. So Isaac Tesla found a home here at 16. At 15, I got Pat Bryant, your prototypical X wide receiver. We don't have many of those in this draft, but this one plays the X quite nicely. Some people might see his 40-yard dash time at 4.6 as a red flag. I don't see it much as a problem. There is plenty of footage of him making plays, outrunning guys, taking plays to the house. He reminds me of Adonai Mitchell last year a little bit. I like the way that he sets up his routes. I like his release packages. I think he's a good wide receiver depending on the situation. Overall, I just really like Pat Bryant as a wide receiver, and I hope to see him get drafted to a good team. Well, we have Jalen Royals at 14. You might say I'm a certified hater having him at 14, but I'm not. I think Jalen Royals is a good wide receiver. When you look at the speed, the route running, the yards after catch, he does all of those things pretty good, but I didn't think he did all of those things at a level that blew me away. And for some people, that's exactly what they saw. They're very high on Jalen Royals. You can find him in a lot of people's top 10 rankings, but for me, I found a home for him here at 14. I found him one of the hardest players to evaluate and to really buy into. So here's where he stands, and if you want to grill me in the comments, be my guest. And last on the list, I got Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. Another player where I think that the general understanding is I do believe his best football is still ahead of him. He has got a lot of wiggle to him. For a tall, slender wide receiver, he's got some speed, great catch radius, runs good routes. I like him overall as a wide receiver, and I think he's going to do just fine in the NFL. So let's hope he gets drafted to a good situation. All right, we've made it through 12 through 7. At number 12, I got Ty Felton out of Maryland. At number 11, I got Isaiah Bond out of Texas. At number 10, I got Jalen Knoll out of Iowa State. At number 9, I have Kyle Williams out of Washington State. At number 8, I got Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. And at number 7, I got Jack Besh out of TCU. Ty Felton is everything that you guys wish Ricky White was. As an athlete, he's extremely dangerous. He possesses a lot of speed and a lot of elusiveness that sets him apart from a lot of other wide receivers on this list. He was able to make a lot out of his situation at Maryland. He had a lot of stats and a lot of success. So with that said, I got no doubt that Ty Felton is going to be a good receiver. Another wide receiver with great speed, route running, yards after the catch, elusiveness, good release package, fantastic release package if you ask me. Isaiah Bond, red flags. There are plays that he's not necessarily giving the most effort. He could definitely improve in the blocking department, but overall, he's going to make plays and be a dangerous weapon at the wide receiver position. There are some pending legal situations going on with him, so he does have the potential to drop to day 3, and dare I say even go undrafted. It's possible. We'll see how the NFL kind of views his situation, but it's definitely not a good one. Jalen Noel is another wide receiver who kind of fits that slot mold, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's got a lot of muscle to him, good speed, route running, good hands. I don't see the craziest releases from him, but I do think he's a strong guy who excels at the catch point because he's so physical for his size. As a short king, I think Jalen Noel is awesome and someone to watch out for. He makes fast players look not fast. That's how I view Kyle Williams. Another smaller wide receiver, but by no means is not going to have to be stuck in the slot. You can interchange him to the outside, the Z, the X, and he's going to find ways to win, and he does win. That's exactly what you see on tape, and you also see a guy that's unusually quick. The definition of lightning in a bottle, the speed is pretty outstanding. I think it's quick speed, top speed. It's good enough, most definitely. But Kyle Williams is sick, and he's going to hurt a lot of DBs at the next level, and I look forward to seeing him. Jaden Higgins. Between him and Jalen Royals, I had the hardest time with my evaluation process with those two players. I am a big fan of the NFL Stock Exchange, and when Connor Rogers was saying you need to go look at Jaden Higgins, that's exactly what I did, but I wasn't totally impressed. I see the appeal and I see the things on tape where people kind of gravitate towards and go, that guy is going to be amazing. That guy could be Mike Evans. I have my reservations. I have no doubt that he could be a good player. I think the floor is pretty low, but I think the ceiling could be pretty high. I wouldn't be surprised if he turns out to be a good wide receiver, but there was just a lot of things that I looked at with his game that I was very uncertain about. But he found a home here at number 8, so don't be surprised if Jaden Higgins turns out to be a good football player. Jack Besh. I want to start by saying I was watching some all-22 on Savion Williams, his teammate, and after every play, I would just swing on over to Jack Besh on the play and go, what did Jack Besh do on that play? There he is blocking. There he is giving that extra effort. Just being an all-around dude at the wide receiver position. Jack Besh is very physical. He's nice at the catch point. He's not the slowest kind of guy. He possesses just enough speed to get the job done, and I think he's really smart. I think he can settle into the soft spots into the zone, and he can win by getting up into the seam and making success there. He carries the mentality that you want at the wide receiver position. You want a guy that's going to play hard for you all 4 quarters, make the plays, and be a difference maker, and I think he got that with Jack Besh. All right, everybody, we've made it to the top 6 wide receivers in my rankings. At number 6, I got Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. At number 5, I got Alec Ayumanor out of Stanford. Bro Schmo say that there is a correct way of saying it. However, I'm going to just stick with Ayumanor. At number 4, I got Luther Burden out of Missouri. At number 3, I got Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. At number 2, I got Matthew Golden out of Texas. And at number 1, I got Tetaroa McMillan, aka T-Mac. I think Trey Harris is a badass wide receiver. I think he fell maybe victim to the Ole Miss playbook and the way that they want to run things. But when you look at the production and the things that he was able to do when he was on the field, I think it's outstanding. I'm a fan of Trey Harris. I like his build. I like the way that he plays the wide receiver position. So you can make an argument for him to even be ahead of Ayumanor. I get it. But for me, he stands solid at number 6. Big fan of Trey Harris. Alec Ayumanor possesses all of the things that you need to be a successful wide receiver. He's got great hands, good route running. He's physical and can get off of press. He can flat out make plays when you need him to. I think the drawback is some people look at the inconsistencies and it draws a big red flag to them. I understand that. But however, when you're looking at the best pass blocker in the class, someone who takes it very serious and loves to drive DBs into the sidelines, you could say I'm a pretty big fan of that. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can clean up with him, just getting him with the right coaching staff. And you can't turn a blind eye to a guy that has really put an ass whooping on Travis Hunter when they went one-on-one. I'm really impressed with Alec Ayumanor, and I think that the quarterback play at Stanford really kind of hindered him to some extent, and I think his best football is definitely ahead of him. Luther Burden is one of the most dangerous wide receivers on this list. He's one of the best wide receivers with the football in his hands, one of the best wide receivers when it comes to the yak. I think he's going to be a problem for opposing defenses, and I think he's going to make a great player in the NFL. Nothing in the NFL is for sure, but I think it's safe to say that Emeka Egbuka is almost fail-proof. When you talk about a player who probably has the highest floor in probably this whole draft class, there's an argument to be made for Emeka Egbuka. Overall, a solid wide receiver who does everything pretty darn good. If you're looking for a wide receiver to hop in the rotation and start making plays for your team, you're looking at him with Emeka Egbuka. My number 2 wide receiver is Matthew Golden. When you need a guy to come in, act like a football player, be a football player, win your matchups, In clutch moments, can I count on you? You get that with Golden. He doesn't exactly play with that 4.2 speed that you see in the combine, but you see a guy who finds a way to get the job done, whether it's ugly or pretty, you get that with Golden. Any team in the NFL would be lucky to have him, and I got no doubt that he's going to be just fine in the NFL. My number one wide receiver in this year's draft class is Tetairoa McMillan. I like my wide receivers to be tall. I like them to win at the catch point, to be dangerous red zone targets. I like them to run good routes, and I like them to have good speed. I think he does all of those things. I think he puts all of those things together just right as a receiver, and he's everything that you could really want. I understand that there are some limitations to his game, and there are some things that can be flat out frustrating. But I think overall, T-Mac is going to get put in a situation, and I think he's going to find a way to win. All right, there you have it, guys. These are my wide receiver rankings for this year's draft class. It was a long, grueling, but totally worth it process. I'm so glad I did it, and I can't wait to see how these guys translate in the NFL. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who's too high? Who's too low? And until next time, I'm Andrew with Boltcasa. Remember to bolt up. Peace.